So I get pretty apathetic sometimes. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but a story or a thought that goes through my head is not feeling anxious or, oh my God, I have to do this. It's more of, none of this matters. What's the point? That's kind of what that is my learned response to challenges, or kind of where my brain will go sometimes. And I just wanted to share what I've done personally to make those voices a little quieter and to feel less apathetic over time. And I figured I'd start kind of at the somewhere in the middle, maybe not a complete beginning, but of kind of when I first started feeling those sorts of ways. And it started in grad school. I had 18 months where I was majorly depressed. Did not go and see a doctor or psychiatrist or anything like that. I gutted through it for 18 months. I never got suicidal or anything like that, but every day was just a slog. Hard to get out of bed, hard to get to the gym, hard to interact, just feeling depleted a lot of the time. And just this overwhelming sense of apathy and nothing matters and all that type of stuff. And just like that, that brain fog, just your brain feeling heavy, or your just head feeling heavy, your whole body, just it's harder to just get up and move throughout the day. Well, yeah, I experienced that firsthand for 18 months at that time. And then there have been other episodes beyond that, but they were less intense, and not nearly as severe. But I just want to share a couple things that have really helped, because I still feel this way sometimes. I still have those thoughts and feel those sensations of the heaviness and my brain being foggy and all that type of stuff. But I read this book a few years ago called The Happiness Trap, and it's a great book. Highly recommend you check it out. Of course, this is not a strategy that works for everyone. Everyone has their own ways to handle depression and anxiety, so this is not a cure-all, but just what has worked for me. And one of the ways that I have used to get out of that feeling and sensation is to label it and really just accept it, not try to make it go away necessarily. So, for example, if I'm feeling, even like yesterday, I was just sitting doing some documentation and was just feeling like none of this matters. Like, what am I doing? Just feeling that brain fog. And the first step is noticing that you are feeling that way, right? How many times do we feel terrible and we just kind of sit in it all day, or weeks at a time, or months at a time, and we just feel that way, but we're not really saying to ourselves and making it known how we're actually feeling. We're just kind of like experiencing it without knowing, if that makes any sense. And so what I learned from this book is that instead of doing that and just suffering through, what you can do is say, oh, I'm noticing that I am feeling apathetic. I'm noticing that I'm feeling the sensation of heaviness in my head and sluggishness. And these simple phrases are so powerful, at least they have been for me, because they allow me to get outside of that experience. It allows me to then intellectualize it and to reduce the emotion that is associated with that feeling and sensation. Because a lot of times these emotions that come up, they have no bearing in reality. They're just, like the sensation itself and the feeling itself yes, sometimes these are triggered from truly like really bad things, but oftentimes like you're having a decent day and then all of a sudden you feel apathetic. Um, I don't exactly know. There are various reasons or re- potential reasons that people have suggested why these occur, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. But all I know is that we experience these feelings and sensations, and most of the time they're not true. They're just kind of what we're feeling. And so, like, there's a big movement of like, oh, whatever you feel is true, and I don't believe that. I think that we are a complex organism that can feel shitty or great for no apparent reason a lot of the time, and that for whatever reason we can be prone to anxiety or prone to depression, and it's not because something is wrong in your life, like especially if you're like doing all the things to take care of yourself, like you're sleeping well and you're working out and you're taking care of your relationships, and you make enough money and you're able to like basically provide for yourself and your family. You're still going to feel apathetic or anxious or all these things at times. That doesn't necessarily mean that things are wrong. That just means that you're just having one of those days or one of those hours or one of those moments. And sometimes I think and I've done this myself because I'm pretty analytical, is we read too far into it. We read too far into it's, oh, something's way wrong. Let me just hyper analyze this thing until I figure out the exact reason. And again, like that might be helpful for a good amount of people, and every scenario is a little different. So there probably are times there are times in my life where that has been helpful because there have been things that I'm like, oh, this is not good. Like, let me analyze that. But then there's lots of other times, probably more actually, where I just feel off a little bit, but there's no real reason. Nothing bad happened. And so that strategy of just labeling it has been so helpful, but you have to notice that you're feeling that way first. So that means you probably need to slow down a little bit too and just sit in silence and be like, oh shit, I feel not great. And then labeling it that way. Not I feel this way, but I'm noticing that I am feeling or I'm having the sensation of. And the reason why the author makes that suggestion to say it that way is because then you distance yourself from the thought, you distance yourself from the emotion from it. And that, as silly as it sounds, that really helps, at least for me. Again, it doesn't help for everybody, and there are other strategies in the book, but like oftentimes that's enough. And another strategy is like saying, I'm telling myself the story that I'll never be financially independent, or I'm telling myself the story of I'm not doing enough with my life, right? Those are some of the stories that I tell myself personally sometimes. And it's just helpful to know, like, what are those stories that you have on repeat that you keep telling yourself that just aren't helpful, right? They're just stories. They're just stories that we're saying. They don't have any real basis in reality necessarily. Maybe, if they do, you can address it, but if they don't, then just know that they're not really based in reality. It's just a story we tell ourselves. And we don't have to stop telling ourselves those stories. We can just acknowledge that that's just what our brain's deciding to tell us right now. And that's okay. That's been super helpful. So those are the first couple things. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but we're on a walk, so who cares? So the next thing that really helps, and I've shared this already, is exercise. So I'm out for a walk right now in the sunshine. Man, that alone, just getting your body moving, is super helpful. I love lifting weights too. So whenever I'm feeling down, it's also a prevention tool, right? If you just have a regular routine of working out, it's going to help just make you feel better overall, physically, mentally, usually. And then the next thing is getting good sleep. And that's not, oh, I need to stop all these things, but it's like, okay, how do I just go to sleep at a good time and just get up at a good time, right? Like, if you can control your nighttime routine, that will take care of you getting up in the morning. You don't necessarily have to have the perfect morning routine or any nonsense like that. It's more of just figuring out, how do I just get a restful night's sleep? Oftentimes that's controlling your evening routine. At least, again, this is what has worked for me. Your mileage may vary. So those are a few things. And then trying to remember what another thing that, try not to get hit by a car here. I'm trying to think of what another thing that I wrote down.
So eating lots of fruits and veggies as well. I notice a huge difference in how I feel when I do eat more fruits and veggies, and then also limiting time on social media and doom scrolling. Most social media is just negative to begin with, and it's just better to limit that. So yeah, that is a couple that I forgot to add.
Oh yeah, and then just having downtime. Just having downtime, spending time with friends and family, and just like really cultivating healthy relationships. I mean, if you're doing those three things and you're using that strategy to control like apathy or any other sensation or emotions that you're having, you're just going to be a lot happier overall. But those are the big things that I've done, and it's nothing crazy. Like, I haven't had to go, move to India and do a yoga retreat or become a monk or anything. Like, I'm living in society. I am working 40 hours a week. I have 2 kids. Like, I'm married. Like, we're busy, but these are things that I do on a regular basis that have helped so much. And having community and just having people around you who are doing the same thing is really helpful to keep you consistent in it, because it's easy to fall off the bandwagon, kind of get stuck in these unhelpful thoughts and unhelpful stories. But I hope that some of that was helpful for you. Leave a comment below and let me know what strategies you have used, or if you're stuck in a loop. I get stuck in a loop sometimes, and these are just some of the things that help me stay out of it. So yeah, good luck, and I'll respond to as many comments as I can if there are any. All right, later.